Two-Face here, back with another reaction video. This time I'm reacting to Napoleon Seizes Power, the Brumaire Coup by Epic History, or as people know it as the Coup of 18 Brumaire. For those who don't know, Brumaire was the French revolutionary character before it went back to the normal calendar. And yeah, this is a video I didn't expect from Epic History, if I'm honest. But it's nice. It's a nice change of pace to know the finer details of the Coup of 18 Brumaire. And I am not going to judge it by the Napoleon film because I don't know how much of the coup in the Napoleon movie with Joaquin Phoenix is I don't know if it shows how the coup of 18 Brumaire actually went down. So it's nice of Epic History to make a video on the coup of 18 Brumaire. 18 Brumaire. Don't ask why I did it in that stupid accent. Yeah, a nice change to have finer details of this famous coup by Napoleon. I know he had the military come in and help him seize power, but I don't want to talk about it too long because for those who don't know, probably want to see the finer details for yourselves. So, of course, the usual disclaimer when I react to any historical content, if I don't show so much what is considered a proper reaction, is probably obvious. I don't know much about the subject at hand, and if I do know anything, I'll most likely pause the video to give my input or ask any curious questions, which hopefully will be answered in the comments. So with that being said, the link to the original video will be in the description down below. Please go and subscribe to Epic History, and still, in my opinion, one of the best history channels here on YouTube. And feel free to check out their channel and their other content, and hopefully subscribe. Oh, and also, just quick side note, I will be getting back to putting a lot of my videos back into playlists. I just need to give myself some time to make that happen. So anyway, so as I said about the link, and right, let's get this up on screen, captions for historical videos, and let's get into this. We need Bonaparte newspaper. That's it. I am not going to try and pronounce that. August 1799.
October 1799. After 500 days campaigning in Egypt and Syria, Napoleon has returned to France. And with a small entourage, he travels north to Paris. Everywhere he goes, he is greeted by crowds, embraced by dignitaries, and feted as a conquering hero. But such celebrations cannot hide that France...
Oh, and also, if you haven't seen my reaction to my other videos that I've reacted to about the Napoleonic Wars by Epic History, feel free to check them out before checking this one out. I should have said that at the start.
France is a country in crisis and despair. Banditry is so rife that Napoleon's own luggage is stolen en route.
Wow. Yeah, due to the extremism of the revolution. And Napoleon having a disastrous time in Egypt and Syria.
Prices are soaring. So too are taxes. Trade has...
Thanks to the corrupt directory.
...has been decimated by years of war and blockade. There is conscription, censorship and corruption.
Yep.
Abroad, France once more faces a powerful coalition of enemies.
Yep.
And though General Massena's brilliant victory at Zurich has won respite, France is not safe yet. But in Bonaparte, many see a savior for the country. Thanks to his own propaganda, everyone has heard of his brilliant victories in Italy and Egypt. His name is celebrated in newspapers and plays. The air rings with cries of, "Hurrah for Bonaparte! He will save the country!"
Wow. Oh yeah, he was good with propaganda.
Not everyone is thrilled by the general's return.
Oh, I bet.
At the very top of French government, some wonder if Bonaparte should not be court-martialed for abandoning his army in Egypt, and now flouting France's quarantine laws.
Wow.
However, Napoleon does now have a letter from the Directory ordering his return to France, though he acted before receiving it. There's also concern that a move against such a hugely popular general could easily backfire. For his part, Napoleon regards the government with contempt, a sentiment he's happy to share in private. Over breakfast, he tells General Thibault, "These men are bringing France down to the level of their own blundering. They are degrading her." Well, what can generals expect from this government of lawyers? To Napoleon, it's self-evident that he would do a better job, given all his glorious achievements in Italy and Egypt. Since 1795, France has been ruled by the Directory, a five-man executive whose members hold power for 5 years. In 1799, its members are Paul Barras, Napoleon's first patron, infamously corrupt and dissolute, but a shrewd political operator. He has been a permanent member of the Directory since its formation. Emmanuel Joseph Sieyès, a former priest who wrote the Revolution's most famous political pamphlet, now regarded as the leading political thinker in France. Then, 3 staunch Republicans, appointed to the Directory just 4 months ago, under outside pressure. Louis Goyer, a veteran Jacobin and former minister in the National Convention. Jean-François Moulin, a Jacobin general who had commanded in the bloody war in the Vendée. And Pierre-Roger Ducos, a more moderate figure and ally of Sieyès. The other major element of government, the legislature, is comprised of the Council of 500, who draft laws, and the Council of Elders, who approve them. Members of both councils.
So basically, it was a French version of Parliament and the House of Lords, basically.
Dress in extravagant costumes, inspired by their great model, to which they refer constantly, the ancient Republic of Rome. This government, the Directory in particular, is now widely regarded as corrupt, ineffective, and unfit to survive.
Yep.
And powerful men on the inside will play a leading role in its destruction.
I returned to France at a fortunate moment, when the existing government was so bad it could not continue. Napoleon on St. Helena. For those who don't know, that's when he was exiled for the second and last time.
On his return to Paris, Napoleon takes up residence in the home of the Beauharnais family on Rue de la Victoire, which has been renamed in his own honor. given the unsettled political climate, he faces an uncertain and potentially dangerous few months in the capital. One man he can count on as a valuable guide, his younger brother, Lucien.
Wow.
He serves in the Council of 500 as the deputy for Corsica, and has recently been elected its president. As such, he will be a key player in the weeks ahead. But first comes a stormy reunion with his wife, Josephine.
Oh, yeah.
Which quickly gives way to a passionate rapprochement. Both have been guilty of infidelities,
Oh, yeah.
but Napoleon is clearly still in love, and his earlier talk of divorce is quietly forgotten. Henceforth, Josephine will prove a faithful wife, and through her social connections, an important political ally. Paris is awash with talk of plots and conspiracies. Rumors of threats from the left, ex-Jacobins, who oversaw the bloody days of the Terror. And from the right, secret royalists who want to turn back the clock. And there are those who seek a third option. Soon after his arrival in Paris, Napoleon receives a visit from France's ex-foreign minister, Maurice de Talleyrand. Talleyrand, a keen observer of which way the political wind was blowing, had resigned from the government in July.
Oh yes, even to this day, still very hated in French society to this day.
Having worked with Napoleon in planning the Egyptian expedition, he now proposes they collaborate on another plan to replace the government of France. Napoleon, disgusted by the current regime, immediately welcomes the idea. Talleyrand then reveals that a member of the Directory itself is working to bring down the regime. Sieyès, the country's leading political thinker, has decided that the Directory must be cast aside and that France must have a new constitution, which he intends to write. He plans to sweep away the chaotic, unruly legislature.
Sorry, I was just checking, making sure everything's working on my OBS over there.
And its weak, ineffectual executive. To save the Republic, radical reforms are needed, and an entirely new form of government. Sieyès already has the support of another director, Roger Ducos, and the president of the Council of Elders, Louis-Nicolas Lemercier. He even has the support of the president of the Council of 500, Lucien Bonaparte.
Wow.
Minister of Police, Joseph Fouché, who has eyes and ears across Paris, is also aware of their conspiracy, but has agreed not to intervene.
Wow.
Now, Sieyès seeks a sword, as he puts it, a military figurehead to keep the army on side and be wielded at the decisive moment, and then sheathed afterwards. But such a man is proving difficult to find. Sieyès' first choice had been General Joubert, Napoleon's talented subordinate at Rivoli, but he'd been killed earlier that year, shot dead at the Battle of Norvy in northern Italy. General MacDonald is sounded out, but is too much the honest Republican for such skullduggery.
Oh yes.
General Moreau, who has led the Army of the Rhine with great success, declines the role. In a moment he will later regret. He recommends...
Yeah, because that is, apart from Bonaparte, if I remember rightly, this is another one of France's most famous and celebrated generals, if I remember rightly.
Bonaparte. There's your man. He will make a better job of your coup d'etat than I could. Sieyès does not like Napoleon. His ambition is too obvious. It is Talleyrand who persuades Sieyès that they have found their sword. On the 23rd of October, Napoleon and Sieyès meet for the first time. They agree that the Republic is in grave peril, from enemies within and without, and that the Directory cannot meet the challenge. Within a week, they agree to launch a coup to overthrow the government of France.
The pear is ripe, Napoleon. Wow. That's one way to
The
put it.
conspirators plan their coup for the 7th of November, 16th Brumaire, according to France's revolutionary calendar, the month of fog.
Okay.
It's a risky operation that will take 2 days, during which any number of things could go wrong. Many of the plotters take precautions. Sieyès carries a briefcase stuffed with cash for a quick getaway. Fouché, the Minister of Police, has drafted orders for Napoleon's arrest in case he needs to switch sides.
Wow.
Napoleon sleeps with 2 loaded pistols by his bed.
Smart.
At the last minute, there's a 48-hour postponement.
That's why it's the 18th.
So
Brumaire.
instead, that night, Bonaparte dines at General Bernadotte's apartment on the Rue de Cisalpine. They are joined by Generals Moreau and Jourdan. He wants the support of these influential generals for his coup. Moreau agrees to help. Jourdan promises not to interfere. But Bernadotte is outraged and warns Napoleon that he'll be guillotined. "We'll see," says Napoleon.
Those two are always at each other. Others' throats. If you remember from the Napoleon's Marshals videos that I react to, Bernadotte and Napoleon were always at each other's throats. Even though they had a good first meeting, but throughout the rest of Bernadotte's career, he was always at odds with Napoleon, even outraging him. But if you want to know more about Bernadotte, go and see the videos about Napoleon's Marshals. So today is a day of clearing out the rubbish dump. Conversation between soldiers overheard by police spy.
The 9th of November, Paris. In the crisp hours before dawn, Napoleon meets around 60 officers that he's invited to his house. He informs them that he's decided he must act to save the Republic and asks for their support. They affirm their loyalty with oaths of allegiance. The most important man to convince is General Lefebvre, the no-nonsense military commander of Paris. But Napoleon knows his man. He presents Lefebvre with the sword he wore at the Battle of the Pyramids as a mark of his great esteem, and the general is won over. "Let's go throw those bloody lawyers in the river," he growls.
That is a brilliant quote. That is brilliant.
At 7 a.m., the Council of Elders meets in an unscheduled early session at the Tuileries Palace. Only Sieyès' allies have been invited, so without opposition, they quickly passed 2 measures. First, Napoleon is to be given immediate command of the Paris military district, using the pretext of a non-existent Jacobin plot. Second, tomorrow the legislature will move from its usual meeting place in the center of Paris to the Château de Saint-Cloud, 5 miles west outside the city. This, the plotters tell the council, is for their own safety. The Paris mob is famed for its unpredictable and violent political interventions. The move is, of course, to protect the conspirators themselves from such an event. At 10 a.m, Napoleon arrives at the Tuileries. He speaks to the Council of Elders, reassures them that the trusted generals Lefebvre and Berthier are by his side, and concludes, "We want a republic founded upon true liberty, on civil liberty, on national representation. We will have it. I swear it."
Okay.
Meanwhile, that morning at the Luxembourg Palace, where the 5 directors reside, Sieyès and Roger Ducos announce their resignation and urge Barras, Goyer and Moulin to follow suit. Barras decides to take a long bath and will not be disturbed. Perhaps he is mulling his options, or waiting for an offer. When it comes, it is from Talleyrand, the man who perhaps understands him best. With the help of an enormous bribe, and the reassurance that he will keep all his estates, Barras agrees to resign. France's longest-serving director, and once formidable power broker, quietly leaves the stage. He is driven to his country house that evening, under military escort. Goyer and Moulin are not so easily persuaded, and so they are placed under house arrest by General Moreau.
Wow.
Their objections are futile. With the resignation of 3 directors, the executive is constitutionally defunct. The conspirators have what they want, a power vacuum, to which they will propose a solution the next day at Château de Saint-Cloud. It will be a day on which the future of France hinges. That evening, as Napoleon rides through the Place de la Concorde, where so many had died under the guillotine, he turns to his secretary. "Tomorrow," he says, "either we will sleep at the Luxembourg, or we'll end up here."
Citizen representatives, the circumstances in which you find yourselves are not ordinary. You are on a volcano.
Napoleon rises at 4 a.m. and rides to Saint-Cloud. There he meets Murat, newly promoted to General of Division, whose 6,000 troops surround the chateau. Officially, they're there to guard the council members. But as deputies arrive for the day's session, the heavy military presence is impossible to miss. There are long delays. Benches have to be found for the chambers. Council members have time to mingle and discuss the many swirling rumours. This time, the Jacobin deputies are present, and they're not happy at being excluded from the previous day's meeting. When the councils finally begin their sessions at 1 p.m, the mood is raucous. The sudden resignation of the directors, the presence of so many troops, the claims of a Jacobin plot. There is much to discuss. The plotters had hoped for a quick vote to establish a new provisional government. But the presidents of both councils struggle to take charge. Hours pass. Napoleon loses patience. At 4 p.m, he bursts into the Council of Elders. As he begins to speak, he is heckled and derided. Napoleon is thrown off balance. He rambles, mutters, then hesitates. When a deputy interrupts, "What of the Constitution?" Napoleon flings back, "The Constitution? You yourselves annihilated it." There is uproar. Napoleon continues, demanding action from the council. Anyone who speaks against him, he strongly implies, has been paid by the British. To any such deputy, he warns, "May the lightning of war crush him instantaneously. Remember that I walk accompanied by the god of war and by the god of fortune." These ill-chosen words seem to confirm the Assembly's very worst suspicions. By some accounts, Napoleon has to be dragged from the chamber by his staff, shouting, "You are scoundrels! I will have you shot if you don't obey me!"
Wow.
Napoleon is shaken, but not defeated. Within minutes, he storms down the corridor into the Council of 500, where the president, his brother, has lost all semblance of control. The mood here is of even greater defiance.
Wow.
The deputies have spent the morning swearing oaths of loyalty to the Constitution. And when Napoleon arrives, flanked by grenadiers, he receives a torrent of abuse. "Down with the tyrant," they cry.
Wow.
"Outlaw! Caesar! Cromwell!"
Cromwell?
These the names of famous generals turned tyrant.
Okay, that makes sense.
As the crowd presses
of
in,
course. Duh.
he is grabbed, jostled, even punched. Lefebvre and his grenadiers rush in to extricate Napoleon from the scaffold. They haul him clear and drag him into the courtyard outside.
Since they made you an outlaw, make them outlaws yourself, sayers to Napoleon.
Napoleon is rattled and bloodied. He seems unsure what to do.
I mean, if anyone who knows more about this subject, please confirm in the comments. Since when were the politicians at this time allowed to have daggers? Because I've seen that a lot in some of the pictures that they showed about the coup. Like, I know that I know Napoleon was both verbally and physically abused, but I did see some of them with knives. I'm like, was that for the politicians' own protection, or they just carried it anyway? Because I'm pretty sure the law at this time, because these politicians are still technically citizens, that only the military, they only allowed the military to carry weapons. Feel free to correct me in the comments if I'm wrong about that.
His old comrade, General Augereau, now a council member, comes out to see him. "You're in deep water now," Augereau tells him. Napoleon regains his composure. "It was worse at Arculay."
Wow.
Nevertheless, the coup totters on the brink of disaster. If the council declares Napoleon an outlaw, it could mean a firing squad or a swift trip to the guillotine. But the riotous disorder has played into his hands. He is the military commander of Paris. When he hears Jacobin deputies are keeping his brother Lucien in the chamber against his will, grenadiers are sent to bring him out. Napoleon attempts to rally troops for a decisive intervention. News of his manhandling by the deputies outrages his old comrades.
Oh, here they come.
They are raring to go. But the Legislative Guard, the 400 troops charged with protecting the council are not convinced. It is Lucien who seizes the moment. He mounts a horse and announces, "Citizens, soldiers, the great majority of the council is at this moment being terrorized by a handful of deputies armed with daggers. These brigands are doubtless in English pay.
Oh, wow.
I declare to you that these madmen have made themselves outlaws by their assaults upon the liberty of this council."
Great speech.
Then he draws a sword and points it at Napoleon's chest. "I swear that I will stab my own brother to the heart if he ever makes an assault on the liberty of Frenchmen." The doubters are won over. A signal is given. With bayonets fixed, troops flood into the Council of 500, with General Murat at their head. "Citizens, you are dissolved," he shouts.
There it is.
And then to his men, "Get this damn rabble out of here." The deputy...
I'm pretty sure he said the F word instead of damn, but okay, I'll just go with it.
Scatter. By some accounts, they jump out of windows, leaving their robes and hats strewn across the gardens. Certainly, the conspirators had hoped to avoid the use of troops. But it had always been a backup plan, one that turned out to be desperately needed. Later that evening, a few deputies are rounded up to form a rump council of 500. Joined by the similarly cowed Council of Elders, they approve the measures that are suggested to them. The dissolution of the Directory, the adjournment of both councils for 4 months, though they will never meet again, and the appointment of 3 provisional consuls, a term borrowed from the Roman Republic. Emmanuel Joseph Seyss, Pierre Roger Ducos, and General Napoleon Bonaparte. 3 years, 8 months since he took command of the army of Italy, Napoleon has risen to the summit of political power in France. He will now be one of 3 men in charge of drafting a new constitution for the Republic. But through his brilliance, energy, and immense popularity, he will soon overshadow his 2 colleagues. Only one man will emerge to rule France. The first consul, Napoleon Bonaparte. And what better way to cement his hold on power than a new military campaign and a return to Italy. Do you want to see our newest and most visually spectacular video? Right now, without ads. The Battle of Cape St. Vincent was a key naval clash of the French Revolutionary War. The battle that made Nelson famous, and we're telling its story with the help of 3D graphics and Unreal Engine. Nebula subscribers can watch it right now and know their subscription is helping to support our work. Nebula is a prestige streaming service built by creators to offer a more thoughtful alternative to the oversaturated, chaotic environment of most ad-based platforms. No ads, no algorithm, no clickbait. Just hand-picked creators and quality content. It's quickly become the most interesting, fastest-growing independent. Thanks as always to the Patreon supporters who help to make.
Feel free to check out Nebula if you're interested.
This channel possible. From builders such as Daniel Tillander, Alejandro Escobedo and Robert Kaiser, to citizens such as Michael H., Gavin Westgate and Eric the Red, and heroes like Louis Sarko.
Okay, it's all credits now, so that'll do it. This has been another great video by Epic History, and so I've said all I've had to say during the video, and nice to see the Coup of 18 Brumaire in finer detail. And wow, they definitely weren't exaggerating when they talked about the intensity of the coup as well. So anyway, if you like this reaction, please like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.